What if the most captivating quality a woman can have has nothing to do with her looks, her job, or her witty one-liners? What if it's a silent, powerful energy that some people just naturally radiate, drawing others in without even trying? Most people will try one or two of these, but 99% miss the final behavior. And skipping it is the difference between being seen as genuinely charismatic and accidentally coming across as manipulative. Effortless presence. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and you just felt seen? Like for those few moments, you were the only person in the world. That feeling is intoxicating, and it's one of the most powerfully attractive behaviors because it's so incredibly rare in our distracted world. This isn't about intense predatory eye contact or nodding aggressively. It's about a state of being that we can actually cultivate. The science behind this is rooted in our fundamental human need for connection and psychological safety. When someone gives us their undivided attention, it sends a powerful, nonverbal signal to our brain. You are important. You are safe here. You matter. This calms our nervous system, lowers cortisol levels, and creates an immediate, almost subconscious bond of trust and warmth. It's a human-to-human connection that bypasses the logical mind and speaks directly to our emotional core. The person who can create this feeling for someone else becomes instantly memorable and desirable. So how do we actually do this? It starts with something I call intentional grounding. Before you even enter a social situation, take a moment. Plant your feet firmly on the floor. Take one deep breath. The goal is to leave the chaos of your day, the endless to-do list, the mental chatter, behind you. You are walking into this interaction as a whole, present person. Once you're in the conversation, the real work begins. The biggest signal of presence is, of course, your phone. Putting it away, not just face down on the table, but completely out of sight in a bag or a pocket, is the ultimate nonverbal compliment. It says, nothing in the digital world is more important than you right now. This single act has become one of the most profound gestures of respect in modern society. Then, think about your body. We subconsciously orient ourselves toward what we find important. Pointing your toes, your torso, and your top, your head, towards the person you're speaking with creates a nonverbal bubble of inclusion. It makes them feel centered and valued. But presence goes deeper than just body language. It's about what's happening in your mind. We often listen to respond, waiting for our turn to jump in with our own story or witty remark. The shift here is to listen to understand, to become genuinely curious about the person in front of you. What makes them light up? What are the emotions behind their words? This doesn't mean you have to be silent. It means your questions and comments are born from what they just said, not from your own pre-planned agenda. When someone shares a story, instead of immediately saying, "Oh, that reminds me of a time," you can ask, "Wow, what did that feel like?" Or, "What was the most surprising part of that for you?" This keeps the spotlight on them, making them feel fascinating and heard on a level they rarely experience. This state of effortless presence is dangerously seductive because it offers a sanctuary from the noise of life. It makes people feel understood, and the person who provides that feeling becomes a source of immense comfort and attraction. Vocal power. There's a hidden language we speak that has nothing to do with our words. It's the music behind the lyrics, our vocal tone. You can say the most intelligent thing in the world, but if your voice is high-pitched, fast, and nervous, the message gets lost. Conversely, a simple phrase like "tell me more" can feel like an irresistible invitation when delivered with the right vocal power. This isn't about faking a deep voice or being artificially dramatic. It's about understanding the psychology of sound and how our tone directly influences the emotions of those around us. Research consistently shows that we perceive voices with a lower pitch and a slower, more deliberate pace as more confident, competent, and trustworthy. A lower vocal register is physiologically associated with a relaxed state. When we're anxious, our vocal cords tighten, raising our pitch. So a calm, measured voice non-verbally signals, "I am in control, I am comfortable in my own skin." This creates a sense of stability and reassurance for the listener, making them feel safe to open up. The first step to cultivating vocal power is simply to breathe. So many of us speak from our throat, which produces a thinner, less resonant sound. To find your natural, powerful voice, you need to speak from your diaphragm. Try this. Put a hand on your stomach and hum. Feel that gentle vibration? That's where your power comes from. Before you speak, take a quiet, deep breath that makes your belly expand. As you exhale, let your words ride on that stream of air. You'll notice an immediate difference in the richness and depth of your tone. It's not about being louder, it's about being more resonant. The second key is pace. We tend to speak quickly when we're nervous, as if we're trying to rush through our thoughts before we're interrupted. Confident people aren't afraid of silence. They use pauses strategically. A well-placed pause before you make an important point builds anticipation. A pause after someone else speaks shows that you're actually considering their words, not just waiting to talk. Slowing down your speech forces you to be more intentional with your words and gives them more weight and gravity. It draws the listener in, making them lean forward to catch what you're going to say next. Another fascinating element is something called vocal modulation, or the variation in your pitch and tone. A monotone voice is neurologically boring. It literally puts our brains to sleep. A voice that has a gentle, melodic rise and fall is far more engaging. Think about how you'd read a story to a child. You naturally use your voice to convey emotion and excitement. You can apply a more subtle version of this to your everyday conversations. When you're sharing something you're passionate about, let that genuine excitement infuse your tone. When you're asking a thoughtful question, you might end the sentence on a slightly lower, more inquisitive note. This vocal variety is like adding color to a black and white sketch. It brings your personality to life and makes you far more captivating to listen to. Combining a naturally lower register with a deliberate pace and emotional modulation creates a vocal signature that is both incredibly soothing and deeply compelling. It's a voice people want to listen to, not just hear. Curious engagement. We often believe that to be seen as attractive or interesting, we need to have the best stories, the funniest jokes, or the most impressive accomplishments. We focus on being interesting, but the data and human experience tells us the opposite is true. The most charismatic and seductive people are not the most interesting, but the most interested. This is the power of curious engagement. It's a mindset that shifts the focus from how can I impress this person to who is this person. This behavior is so potent because it taps into one of the most powerful drivers of human connection, the desire to be known and valued for who we truly are. When you show genuine, non-judgmental curiosity about someone, you give them a profound gift. You make them feel like their world, their thoughts, and their experiences are worthy of exploration. This triggers a release of dopamine in their brain, the same neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. They literally start to associate you with feeling good about themselves. The foundation of curious engagement is asking better questions. We are programmed for small talk. What do you do? Where are you from? And these questions usually lead to dead ends. The goal is to get to the why behind the what. Instead of asking what someone does for a living, you could ask, what's the most surprising thing about the work you do? Or what's a passion you have that has nothing to do with your job? These questions invite storytelling and reveal personality, not just facts. They open doors to deeper conversations about values, motivations, and dreams. The key is to listen intently to the answer and build your next question from there. This creates a natural, flowing conversation, not an interrogation. For example, if they say they love hiking, instead of just saying, "Oh, cool," you could ask, "What is it about being on a trail that you love so much? Is it the challenge or the peace?" You're not just collecting data, you're exploring their inner world. This curiosity must be authentic. People can feel the difference between a checklist of questions and a real desire to understand. This is where your own engagement comes in. You can use validation and affirmation to show you're on the journey with them. Simple phrases like, "That makes so much sense," or "I can see why you would feel that way," create a powerful feedback loop of understanding. It shows you're not just hearing the words, but processing the emotions behind them. And it's not a one-way street. You also need to share parts of yourself, but in response to the flow of conversation. When they share a passion, you might share a related one of your own, creating a point of connection. This isn't about hijacking the conversation. It's about a balanced dance of give and take. This deep, curious engagement is dangerously attractive because it's a form of intellectual and emotional intimacy. It says, "I see past the surface, and I am fascinated by what's underneath." In a world where most interactions are transactional and superficial, offering someone this level of focused, genuine interest is an unforgettable experience. Playful challenge. There is a powerful allure in someone who is warm and kind, but not a pushover. This is the essence of the playful challenge. It's a delicate balance that communicates immense self-respect and confidence. Many of us are taught to be agreeable, to smooth over disagreements, and to make ourselves easy to be around. While kindness is essential, constant agreeableness can be perceived as a lack of personality or conviction. A playful challenge, on the other hand, introduces a spark of dynamic tension into an interaction. It's not about being argumentative, negative, or difficult. It's about demonstrating that you have your own mind, your own standards, and a sense of humor about it all. This behavior is seductive because it disrupts the predictable script of social interaction. It signals that you are an equal, a counterpart to be engaged with, not an audience to be performed for. It creates intrigue and makes the other person work just a little bit, which makes the connection feel more earned and valuable. So what does a playful challenge look like in practice? It often manifests as lighthearted wit or gentle teasing. If someone says something overly boastful or generic, instead of just nodding along, you might respond with a warm smile and a comment like, "Oh, really? Are you sure you're not leaving out the part where it all went wrong?" It's done with a twinkle in your eye, communicating that you're engaging with them on a more clever, less filtered level. It can also be about disagreeing respectfully. If they state an opinion about a movie or a book that you don't share, you don't have to pretend to agree. You can say, "That's so interesting. I actually had a completely different take on it. I felt that." This shows that you're not intimidated and that you value your own perspective. The key is the tone. It should be curious and open, not confrontational. It invites a debate, not a fight, which is intellectually stimulating and far more engaging than simple consensus. Beyond conversation, a playful challenge is also about how you structure your time and energy. It's about having a full, interesting life of your own that doesn't revolve around gaining someone's approval. This means not always being available at a moment's notice. It means having your own hobbies, passions, and friendships that you prioritize. This isn't a game of playing hard to get. It's the natural result of being a high-value person with a rich inner and outer life. This inherent unavailability creates a natural, unforced challenge. It communicates that your time is valuable and that spending time with you is a privilege, not a given. This combination of witty engagement, independent thought, and a self-sufficient life creates an incredibly attractive dynamic. It tells the world that you are a prize to be won, not a puzzle that's already been solved. It keeps things interesting, and in the world of human connection, interesting is irresistible. Authentic vulnerability, this is the final piece, the one that makes everything else work. Without it, presence can feel intense, vocal power can feel calculated, curiosity can feel like an interrogation, and a playful challenge can feel cold and arrogant. Authentic vulnerability is the secret ingredient that infuses all these behaviors with genuine human warmth. It is, by far, the most potent and dangerous of them all because it requires immense courage. We're often taught that seduction is about projecting a flawless, perfect image. But the truth is, perfection is intimidating and unrelatable. It's our imperfections, our shared humanity, that truly draws people in. Authentic vulnerability is not about trauma dumping or oversharing your deepest insecurities on a first date. That's a boundary violation. Instead, it's the carefully chosen, courageous act of letting someone see a small, real part of you that isn't perfectly polished. Think of it as sharing the behind the scenes of your life. It could be as simple as admitting you're a little nervous, saying something like, "Wow, I'm always a bit awkward for the first 5 minutes of meeting someone new," is incredibly disarming. It instantly breaks the tension and makes the other person feel safe to be imperfect too. It could be sharing a passion that might be considered a bit nerdy or quirky. Talking with genuine excitement about your love for beekeeping or classic black and white films shows that you are unashamed of who you are. This kind of vulnerability is a signal of profound self-acceptance. It says, "This is me. I am not afraid to be seen." It's a powerful filter. The right people will be drawn to that realness, and the wrong people might be filtered out, which is a gift in itself. It's about moving from trying to be impressive to trying to be expressive. The science behind this is rooted in the work on trust and intimacy. Studies show that vulnerability fosters connection. When you take a small social risk by sharing something real and the other person receives it with kindness and acceptance, a powerful bond is formed. It's a reciprocal dance. Your act of vulnerability gives them permission to be vulnerable in return. This is how you move from a surface-level acquaintance to a deep, meaningful connection. You're building a bridge of trust, one small, authentic admission at a time. It could be admitting you don't know something, or telling a self-deprecating but funny story about a time you failed. These moments are what make you three-dimensional. They are what make you real. When you combine this authentic vulnerability with the confidence of presence, the appeal of vocal power, the gift of curiosity, and the spark of a challenge, you create a combination that is utterly magnetic. It is the rare and beautiful paradox of being both strong and soft, confident and humble, powerful and approachable. Ultimately, these behaviors are not a set of tricks to be performed or a checklist to be memorized. They are the natural, outward expression of a woman who is deeply comfortable in her own skin. She is present because she is not lost in self-doubt. She has vocal power because she believes her voice deserves to be heard. She is curious about others because she is secure enough to step outside of her own world. She is playfully challenging because she respects herself. And she is vulnerably authentic because she knows her worth is not based on being perfect. The most dangerously seductive thing in the world is not a technique. It is the quiet, unshakable confidence of a woman who is, simply and unapologetically, herself. Which of these behaviors felt the most like a personal strength, and which one felt like a new area to explore? I'm so curious to read your thoughts.